Football for me, it means people. Everyone who's involved for the right reasons. They want to play because they love the game, they want to be involved, and it brings connection between everyone, whether it's standing on the sides, whether it's in the crowd, just watching and not playing.
And with football being for everyone, whether you're a coach, a player, an aspiring player for the future, someone seeking a scholarship, a teacher, a youth worker, a professional, a volunteer, someone seeking to get involved in the game, a volunteer parent, whether they're reflecting on their journey and how they can understand their grassroots team, an aspiring academy coach yourself, no matter what and no matter where you're listening, this podcast is really for you. On the Reflective Coach podcast, there are so many wonderful guests that feature on a podcast, whether this is former professionals, current professionals, and professionals of all backgrounds within the Coaching Insight series that really inspire, understand, support, and are reflective amongst this journey as they share their own insights, experiences, their own journey, their own reflections, strategies, insights, and other stories into the Reflective Coach podcast. Each week features a new guest, and each new guest brings something new to the podcast. I've been so lucky to have so many wonderful guests on, and you can really listen to all the episodes on Spotify, YouTube, and Podcast Addict, with continuous updates on Twitter and LinkedIn. By subscribing, commenting, following, engaging with all the posts amongst social media, you can really keep up to date with all the episodes.
Yeah, honestly, every step, every place I've been, I feel like I was meant to be there for a reason. Where I started off and kind of where I've ended up here. I honestly, I've enjoyed every moment, every place that I've been. And then, this past year was crazy. A lot of big changes. Starting a new program from scratch is a lot of work. And I was also heavily pregnant and moving. So we talk about the Zula way. So the school is Xavier, but we go by Zula for athletics. And, we talk about it being the Zula way. And, we just want to be known as, a high competitive program. Every sports team here at Xavier is held at a high standard. Our teams have won national championships. They're in national tournament most years. They're nationally ranked. So I think as coaches, we become our own coach because we learn from other people. Like I've had many coaches, and maybe I take a little bit from each coach that I've had, and then maybe learn from some players I've played with or coached. And then you just take all these little things that you like from other coaches, and then it, creates you as a coach. And there's always going to be things that you like or you don't like from coaches, but just learning from every coach that you come across, or from every team, from every player, and it becomes, what you want to be. Nice. There we go, that's better. Okay.
Perfect. So it's still nice and early where you're at, only 10 a.m. in the morning?
10 a.m, but being up earlier, I've got a little one, so early rise.
Absolutely, for sure. What's that accent you got kicking in there as well?
So I'm from Dundee, up in Scotland.
I thought so. I thought it was a more common one than an American one that I usually hear.
Yeah, for sure. Where about are you from?
I'm from South Wales, so not too far really.
Yeah, nice one.
So what took you from Dundee to America then?
Gosh, I've been out here since 2010, so about 13 years already. Football. I was at school, obviously at home, and then knew I always wanted to come out to America. It was just something I always wanted to do, and I was just waiting on the right moment, the right time. It wasn't the right time when I tried to come when I was about 16, 17. So I actually went to college back home, Dundee College, and then got a degree in sports coaching. And then as soon as I finished that, I had the opportunity to come out here and on a soccer scholarship, and came to the middle of Kansas, in the middle of nowhere. And so I played there. It was a junior college, so I was there for 2 years. And then I transferred on to a university for my last 2 years down in Oklahoma. And then after that, I actually had the opportunity to stay and get my master's and be the grad assistant. So I stayed there for 3 seasons. And then I was ready to kind of spread my wings and get into the head coaching kind of role. And so there was an opportunity back up in Kansas to be a head coach at a junior college. So I took that. I was there for 6 years, and then I just moved down here to New Orleans at Xavier University. We just started a women's soccer program like this fall, and so I moved down here like at the start of the year. So I was kind of the Midwest for a little bit until until I came down here to Louisiana.
I love it, and that's such a great journey. Going across from Scotland to America, then moving across America, doing your masters, then being a grad assistant. Obviously starting a family with the young one, a new soccer school program program, I should say. Very exciting times indeed, and the journey has been a great one by the sounds of it.
Yeah, honestly, every step, every place I've been, I feel like I was meant to be there for a reason. Where I started off and kind of where I've ended up here. I honestly, I've enjoyed every moment, every place that I've been. And then, this past year was crazy. A lot of big changes. Starting a new program from scratch is a lot of work. And I was also heavily pregnant and moving across state and but it's a great journey, and my husband, he's actually the assistant coach for the men's program, so it's kind of like a whole family deal. It was it was something that worked for all of us, and that's what we had been looking for. So everything just seemed right time, right moment, and so super excited to be here and really just enjoyed my whole journey.
Well, it's great that you're enjoying it, and it's even better that it's worked out, because sport and life doesn't always work out that way, but it seems like the cards are aligning well for you.
That's it. I feel blessed. Like I really do. Everything is just kind of been set up, and we've worked hard to get to this place. Don't get me wrong, but just the fact that it was good for the whole family and just kind of the right moment, right time. It just feels great.
And that's even better. And I was going to ask about the program because, I've seen you share a few things on your tweets and stuff. And I think it was only the other day, it was the first official goal in the program history. And the first interview as well, I believe. And just having these sort of steps, it's fantastic to have such a new program, but to be involved in part of that and to be in a leading position and to have the input and output within that, you get to sort of build the foundations, which if you move on in 10 years, for example, and there's a different head coach or different type of institution leading upon that, you've had the imprint and delivered that and helped get it towards that 10-year period from the work that you're doing now, which is really exciting within itself.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, starting a new program, it comes with so much work. Obviously recruiting is the big part because you need the team. But then, like you say, just trying to instill a good foundation, the good core values of the program, something that stands for something bigger than just the soccer. So that's been a lot of what we've been trying to work on since the team got here. And then just trying to celebrate the little moments as we move on. Being a new program, we're setting the standard, we're making history with everything that we do. The first game, the first goal, the first win, all of these are going to come, and it's just enjoying those and celebrating those. Just because we talk a lot about making history this year, and everything that we do, is always going to be there. No one can take this away from us. This is what we're starting off with. This is what we want the program to be all about. And so, gosh, it's an overnight thing, creating this culture and instilling this good foundation. But we've got a really, really good core group of girls and that are here to help, create that. So I'm just excited to get started and just kind of enjoying all the little steps along the way for sure.
Yeah, and it sounds great, but what do you want the program to be? What are you sort of leading it towards for it to be seen and to have the expectation around it being then?
Sure. So we talk about the Zula way. So the school is Xavier, but we go by Zula for athletics. And, we talk about it being the Zula way. And, we just want to be known as, a high competitive program. Every sports team here at Xavier is held at a high standard. Our teams have won national championships, they're in national tournament most years, they're nationally ranked. So the same pressure and the same expectations here for soccer. I don't like to settle for being average. That's why I took this job because there is that high expectation here. And I recruited a lot of the girls that came from winning programs or have that winning mentality as individuals. And so it's about getting the right people in first and the right players. And so now that we've got the right players in, now it's just trying to create the Zula way, right? So we want to be known as, the certain style of play that we play. And that's really important to us, and to just kind of stick to our values. So like, say, for example, if someone came to watch us, like, we want to be identified as, oh yeah, that's Xavier. We know how they kind of play. And so just trying to stick to our style of play, our game is really important. And then just being respectful. We've got a lot of core values. I kind of tell them what's expected from me as a coach, and then the team actually created their own core values of what they want the team to represent. It's family, it's hard work, it's having fun, it's having confidence. Like, they've picked their 5 that they believe should be instilled into their program, and that's something that will come back to every year to see. This is what the first team created as their core values for this program. Like, do we still agree? Is there any kind of tweaks we want to make? Because I think it's so important that you let the team know that it's their team as well. It's not my team. It's not my assistant's team. It is our team. And so I feel like I'm still fairly young as a coach. And so I want to learn from players as well. We're all learning from each other, and they've got any ideas to bring to the table just to help us grow as a team. I'm all for listening to it. And so it's so important to let them know it's their team, and it's something that they want to create. These core values, this is something they expect from their players. Like, the other core value is accountability, and holding themselves accountable, but holding their teammates, coaches, everyone accountable within this team to get to where we want to be. And we've got our goals of, what we want to accomplish as far as kind of winning and stuff. I mean, obviously we all want to win, but just having those good core values as people is so important first. I recruit you as a person first, player second, because I want people to come in and help us grow our chemistry, grow our culture. And so, yeah, it's all just about trying to get the right people in, the right players in, and then just all sticking to the same foundations, same core values, and then obviously having a high expectation and high standard for the soccer on the field.
I love that. And, involving players to decide on those values and having that input really gives them the voice and that confidence. But if the program continues to evolve over a time, and it might become a legacy in that sense, because in 20 years, if 2 of those values out of the 5 still stand, for example, and there's been a magnitude of changes and many different coaches come in, but 2 stand, those players can always look back and go, do you know what, I was part of that, I instilled that, and the foundation work. So, it's much more than, the championships or, being able to represent the badge on the score. They can actually then even relate to it even further, and they have that history, they have that connection. And that is such a great work which you're doing as a coach, as a head coach, as someone who works with these players, who can then take so much more away and then involve them in that platform, and how that evolves over time. But as you say, then you're continuously learning off them. So if you get a new group next year, for example, or in a couple of years' time when the program then has its renewal of players and players coming in, then it might be a time to reevaluate for the squad that you have in front of you. These values again might change because of those players, and then as those values change, the management and coaching of these players, the team, the environment, the dynamic will change with it. So then, therefore, naturally, that learning process continues to evolve, because you're adapting to players, you're responding to their different needs, and then these values might be completely different, and therefore requires completely different management.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just the game grows, and I think as a coach, you need to be open-minded to change as the different players come in, and obviously I have kind of what I look for in players, and there's certain things that just don't change. Hard work, I don't think that changes over the years, but maybe kind of the way they play and whatnot can change. But I think it's just always staying open and always being willing to change. When I played 10, 15 years ago, I think just kind of the mentality, the style of soccer is so different now. And I think as long as you are a coach who is willing to be open-minded and see the change and see that the game is changing, you're always going to learn from your players as well. And I think it's being humble enough as a coach to know that you can learn from your players, and it's not, I know all, and I want to come across as a coach that, gosh, if you have a great idea, like shout it out, and especially like you said, because it gives them a voice, it makes them feel like that is their team as well, that they have some sort of responsibility, whether you're freshman, sophomore, junior, or senior, you're a part of this team. It's your team, and just to take pride in that, and you really see them want to help the team because maybe their idea actually came up and we actually done something about it. So I think as a coach, as long as you're open, humble, and willing to learn from the game, from your players, then you're going to have success.
I completely agree, and it's great to have that adaptability and seeing the growth of that game over that period in terms of your experience and why you've seen it, and how that can reflect on the players and what you take away as well. Because us being British and coming from a very traditional British way of doing things, even the game is evolving and adapting in such a way. When we sort of came through and had those points, it was still at a time when the game was still in a very old-fashioned way, because very much black and white, this is the way it is, and even still some of those components still exist now, but adapting that and taking that away and completely evolving that mindset, I think just shows the growth of us as individual coaches in the way that the game is helping to grow. But then by going across to America, for example, you could have gone, right, this is the Scottish way of playing, this is what has been instilled in me because this is what I've learned and taken away from living in Scotland and playing or coaching, etc. So therefore it's going to be very traditional in the way that I approach things. But being adaptable and changing what you've done, and that journey which you've been in the United States, sort of gives you, the Scottish way, the United States way, and then your way of thinking. So you've already got 3 different avenues you can approach the game within, mixing those across, and then you start to develop your philosophy and framework with that experience and continue to learn off the players on the way as well.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I love how you say, there's different ways. I think as coaches, we become our own coach because we learn from other people, like I've had many coaches, and maybe I take a little bit from each coach that I've had, and then maybe learn from some players I've played with or coached, and then you just take all these little things that you like from other coaches, and then it creates you as a coach. And there's always going to be things that you like or you don't like from coaches, but just learning from every coach that you come across, or from every team, from every player, and it becomes what you want to be. And I think it's great how you said that, because like back home in Scotland, you grow up and it's just that traditional, like going hard, get stuck in, just play the ball long, and everyone's just but we do come from more kind of a technical kind of standpoint from back home, and you come out to America and it's all very athletic and running, and when I first came out as a player, you could tell who the British players are because maybe we were better with our feet, but we couldn't last, because it's the heat, the just the endurance kind of part of the game. In America was different. And then my husband, he's actually from Brazil. And, if you know anything about soccer in Brazil, it's, they are one of the best in the world. And so I've learned a lot from him as well. And so it's just taken, bits from everything. I think I still kind of stay strong in, that hard work, that kind of, those values we've kind of grown up just with being Scottish, and just working hard for what you want. I think that stays with me no matter what. And then in America, they've got their own kind of way of the hard work, and it's so much more than just technical ability there. It's been a whole athlete here. So I think I've learned that from being here. And then my husband, I've learned a lot of just, honestly, like tactics and just how to play with the ball and all that from him as well. And I've played with girls from all different countries, and so it's just taking bits from from different people to become your own coach. And I hope kind of my style kind of shows that I've got that bit of Scottish, that American, that Brazilian, and that's kind of our style and kind of our philosophy of how we play, for sure.
And even as you say that, thinking of your child as well within this, how very lucky they are to have the very, hard-working Scottish way, then to have the athletic American way, and then to have the Brazilian, skill and brace and everything that goes with it. That sounds like a perfect mix for a child to certainly have if they want to play sports.
Yeah, my little girl, no pressure. She's already 3 months and we're already talking about it.
Absolutely. And I was going to say pressure as well, because, you're in a head coach role and position. And whilst you're doing that, you obviously have that accountability and everything that comes with it. You've got this new program which you're building upon. You're in a position where you're coaching, and a lot of that comes with coaching as well within itself. Your husband then is an assistant coach, and then obviously has everything that comes with coaching. Young child as well. It's a lot that combines certainly at one point. And, is that sort of tough to manage at times, or do you absolutely thrive off it, take it in your stride, and then don't really see, oh, this is hard work? But it is hard work, but we don't see it because of the way we live our lives.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's tough, I'm not gonna lie. A first-time mum, she's about to be 4 months next week, and we don't have any family out here. We're both from different parts. From Scotland, he's from Brazil, so we don't have any family here. So yeah, it's tough trying to manage, and but it's all about time management, and we try to tell our teams the same thing. Being a student athlete, that's like a full-time job in itself, and trying to give your time to your studies, give your time to recovery, to games, to gym workouts. There's just so much that goes into it. So I think we always have to lead by example of showing, whatever life throws at you, as long as you can kind of balance and take that within your stride, that you can be successful. And I think me and my husband are very glad to be in a type of job that has that kind of flexibility. We're not a 9 to 5 with weekends off. I mean, weekends, we don't know what a weekend is off, because it's just always some sort of game. But I'm also so thankful, that we, it's so flexible to be with her, or when we need the help, we've got the help with friends here that we're very lucky to have. And yeah, it's all just time management. But, I hope I can kind of show them that, being a mom, being a woman, that you can do those sort of things. You don't have to kind of feel trapped, that you can still be successful, and showing them, that we can do both. And yeah, it's going to be tough at times, but whenever she gets to come around the girls, they all love to see her. And yeah, as she grows, I hope my daughter can kind of see that, her mom and dad worked really hard to make things work, and in our personal life, and then also in work life as well, and still do the thing that we love to do.
I love that, and it's great that she gets to be part of that journey over that time as well, and even meet the girls or the players that you're coaching, and just sort of even make friendships off them as she grows with them and gets to meet the team. So that's a really nice position to be in as a child and as a person, and to have that sort of family environment and take family into the coaching world and into the team that you have, and be even more connected to the players that you have, and they can start to do the same as well, because, oh, this is my sister, oh, this is my brother, and it just starts to bring everyone together a little bit more and create that harmony in terms of what you want to instill, and with those values, as they say, in terms of having fun and having family, then you're starting to meet those important points. They're going to see, oh, actually, you know what, Coach Ashley has brought this, we love seeing this, she's delivering on what we want to see. Because as much as they can pick their values, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're always on display. So when they get to see those things, it's like, yeah, Coach Ashley's delivering this, we trust her, she's such a great coach. And naturally, without going out and looking for that gratification or looking for to win over their hearts, you're doing it just by being a good coach, being a good person.
Yeah, I mean, I'm so glad you said that. It's so much more about just being yourself and just trying not to force anything on. I hope I just come across as, that the girls can come to me for anything, and they pick their core values as family. That was honestly like number one. That's what got kind of the most votes, and I'm so glad they said that, because that's like number one for me. And I've always said that whichever team we're a family. You've automatically got 20-25 sisters, before you even begin classes. You've always got people that are going to, be there for you and watch your back and support you in any way. If you're having a good day, bad day, you've always got your team. And especially we've got so many internationals on our team as well. And, they can't go home for the weekend. If we've got the weekend off, they can't just go home and get a home cooked meal with mom or whatever it may be. And so for them to know that their team is their family, and it's the same thing like me and my husband, like we don't have family surrounding us, so our team is our family, and so we truly give them our all as well. And so hopefully they see that as well. And I think it's so much more than just soccer. It's creating that kind of family bond, and I think that's what helps your culture, your chemistry as the seasons go on. That your team can just see you, they can trust you, they can to see kind of how your values, how your character really is. As you go on, and you kind of you have to let them in. You can't put up this stone wall. They have to see you as a person, as a human. We're not robots. Coaches, we all have emotions, we all have things going on as well. And so I think if you show them that you've got things going on and that they can just see you as a person, I think that's huge.
Absolutely, and I think that's the most important thing as well, is putting people first over than seeing them as just players or just assets. And that links into literally a book I just literally got here on the right, and a quote that I was reading, and it's literally highlighted. So people are not assets; they are human beings who have the capacity to achieve results beyond what is thought possible. We need to get rid of rules, real and imagined, and encourage independent thinking of others and ourselves. And I think that really relates nicely to so much, because they're independent thinkers, because then they've been able to bring across that value of family, friends, fun, enjoyment. And then can we get the hard work in? Then can we build upon this? Or we're more than assets. We're people who are invested in the program. We're making history. We're setting up the program to succeed. So that is such a great place for them and yourself to be in. It sounds like you're setting up the pathway for a very fantastic program.
Thank you. I hope so. Like I say, it's a lot of work, and it's going to take time. It's not an overnight kind of success, but with the people that we have, the players that we have, the resources that we have at this school, like, we're in place to be successful kind of right away. So that's a plan, and it's just trying to instill all these other things other than just soccer into it as well, for sure.
I love that. And when it comes down to, say, the soccer side, then how do you want to be seen as a university? Very attacking, defensive, balanced, counter-attacking? How do you like to be seen and want to play?
Sure. So we love to play possession. We love to have the ball. I want the ball all the time, and when I don't have it, I want to win it back right away. And so that's kind of like the Zula way that we're saying. We want to have possession. And when I'm picking my style of play, I need to pick the right players. I need to recruit the right players that can play this style. So if we are playing a lot of possession, I want players who are confident. I want players who are composed on the ball, who like having the ball, that can play under pressure. So just having kind of all those characteristics to be successful in our style of play is important. So, every player that's in this team right now are very, very valuable. Every single one of them can play, and they're all fighting for starting spots. And so it's just trying to figure out, it's still so early. It's trying to figure out if everyone's in the right place and whatnot, and who's starting. But, we want to be known as, building out of the back, having composure, being able to break lines. And I try to tell them all the time, like, we don't play possession because it's pretty. We don't just have the ball because, it looks nice side to side. Like, we want the ball for a purpose, and we're moving the ball to move the players to break the lines to go forward. That's pretty much what it is. And so I think it's so important that you show your team why you're playing that style. We're not, like I said, we're not just playing it just to look pretty and have the ball. Like, we are moving it because we want to move the players to break the lines to go forward. And so as long as they kind of know why we're doing it, then they can really buy into it. And they hold themselves accountable after that. So if we get the ball and one of the girls just hits it long and we lose possession, like every pass should have a purpose. So every time you get the ball, you already should know what you're probably going to do with it before you get the ball. And then that's just composure. So, a lot of our practices are very game-like and trying to really enforce all these points. So then come game time, they feel kind of confident and they know what to do. Like I tell them all the time, I want to coach you in practice and let you play in games. I don't want to be coach on games. So coach in practice. So then come game time, you know what to do. And we had our first game last week against number 7 in the nation. Very, very respected, high-level opponent. They've been national champs 3 times. I mean, very, very high level. And so I put them on the schedule because I wanted to see what we look like against the best of the best. If we want to get there, we have to see what it looks like. We ended up losing 5-1. It was 2-1 at half time. The second half, we just ran out of gas. We're probably not fit enough for a full 90 yet. But we stayed true to kind of what we want to do. We were still playing out of the back. We're still moving them, trying to break the lines. Missed a couple of opportunities that we could have put away. And then there's still obviously a lot of things we need to clean up. There's still things that we need to work on before we get into the next game. But I think it's so important. And even the girls said after the game, like, hey, we played the Zula way. We kept possession even against a very, very high level. We were keeping a lot of possession. And so I think that's so important that I feel like it's instilling into the girls' minds already. And, we're only 3 weeks in. As long as they know the way that we want to play, why we're playing it, I think the why is so important, because if they know the why and understand it, then they buy in, and now they hold themselves accountable and know why we're trying to play that way. So, we want to be known as, the team that plays possession, but being successful with the possession and obviously trying to get goals from it and not just keep the ball for 90 minutes and not produce anything. So, that's Zula way, I guess. It's how we're trying to go.
I think that's a brilliant explanation and a great detail to go into, which I really appreciate. And it's great to hear more about the Zula way and the way that you're approaching it, as well as wanting the way the players play a certain way, how they should think about it, how they should focus, what the next steps are, how they hold themselves accountable, the why in terms of that, building upon a way that you'd like to instill things. And if they're making their mistakes or making, maybe poor decisions by playing long ball continuously and losing possession, for example, then how can they build and learn off that so it's shorter passing? And there's so many different considerations in how possession looks, and whilst you're doing that, it's a very good way because they're obviously able to learn so much more about how can they reserve that energy, how can they build together as a team, how can they move as a unit, and so on. But obviously being a new program and being in a position where you're getting to test yourself and set the waters in terms of building upon, right, we need to improve on fitness here, or this game we lacked the decision making, or this game we've done that, so therefore you're able to then start the coach and instill. But to be so early on in your infancy and to play a team ranked national 7, that is such a sort of high stake to put yourself within so early. There's a lot of questions that people could have asked and said, why did you pitch us against national 7? We're not on their level. We could have lost 10-0, for example, and then that might have hit the confidence really hard. So whilst you had those risks beforehand and maybe variables which could have led to, a lot more accountability and question and all that comes into it, did you sort of have any of those reservations in your mind, or is it, let's just pitch ourselves against 7, learn, go, and let's build upon this game?
Yeah, I mean, I think as a new program, you don't really have much to lose, since you're starting from scratch. And I think it's good to kind of see where you're at right away, and I don't think it would be beneficial for us to play, a team that had a very, very bad losing record, that's maybe just not there. What do we get out of that kind of game? So it could kind of go either way. Otherwise, people may think, well, you could win 10-0, but I don't think we can, kind of grow as a program if we play those kind of games. So, yeah, I wanted to play a very, very tough level because I wanted to see what it takes and kind of what's the margin between us and them just now, and then how can we close that, and it's all about, because we want to be there. And I've said before, like, we've got the people here, the players here, the resources here, like, we've got what it takes to get there. It's just how quickly can we get there? And putting it on the program schedule right away, I think, just so the girls can see that level, because maybe we were doing really well in pre-season. We had a scrimmage that we won, so the girls are all in a high, and then we play a really, really tough opponent, and we're kind of knocked down a little bit, and we can still see there's still so much we need to grow and still a lot of things we need to work on. And a lot of the girls after the game actually says, like, thank you for scheduling that. I'm glad we got to play them, because now they can see that we've still got some work to do in order to get there. And I told them, that this will probably be one of the hardest games we play this season. And so, I feel like we were in the game for the first half. Second half, we got kind of run over, but the fact that they could see that they could hang for a bit, was great confidence, and although we lost, and don't get me wrong, I hate losing. There is nothing I hate more than losing. But there is a lot of little things that we could take away from there that was positive that we need to focus on. And then obviously a lot of things that we're still needing to work on. And I watch a lot of film, I sit back and watch it, take lots of stats, all this information, blah, blah, blah. And then this week we have off. So, I think it's a good time that we played them, because now we've got a whole week to work on a lot of things before we get into the next game. So yeah, I think it was a risk putting it first. But at the end of the day, I think it's good to see, not just for us, but for the players to see and kind of get a feel, while they're on the game as well, like on the field against these high quality players, kind of where they're at and where we need to go.
I love that, and I would put myself in your corner exactly, because I'm all about testing the team and trying to push the higher level. So, for example, when I managed under eights, and I've been with the squad for a few years, we had actually went undefeated in the season. And I hate to say that because it's under eights football, but bottom line was we just beat everyone in front of us. We were undefeated for the season, so I had to think, how can I challenge the players more? What's the point in continuously playing friendlies against the teams that were beaten anyway? So we played our under nines, we beat them. We played our under tens, we beat them. So the next step then was under 11s. So they're going into high school age, they're bigger, they're physical, they maybe have a bit more fitness, they've been together longer than us, and we actually went on and beat them as well. And we set ourselves a good precedent then, not only in the club, but then in terms of how the example was of, right, you can do that, so where's our higher standard? So can we try and get some friendlies against the high quality older teams? And we started to lose a few of them then, and then the heads started to drop. It's like, this is exactly what I want. I want your heads to drop, because I want you to come and learn from this, because you may have beaten all these teams all year long at under eights, but what does that really mean? Now you're pitching yourself against bigger, stronger players. How do you recover the ball? How do we keep possession? How do you ensure that your recovery in transition? So how can you keep fitness? How do you track back? How do you tackle? How do we play out from the back? How do we take longer kicks? And all that comes into play. And then you're actually able to work on so many advantages at under 8 level, or any team that you're coaching at any age. And that's where you get the enjoyment and the fulfillment of coaching whilst you're on the pitch with them. So I'm completely in your court, and it's a great position for your team to have been in there to learn, right, this is the program you're setting up, this is the quality that you're going to come up against at times that you're going to play. You're going to come up against girls who may be more experienced or more fitter, or programs where they're going to have a big reputation and following, and that's going to play in within itself come game, etc. So, I'm completely in your corner and back you 100% there, because that's where I've put myself. That's what I'm a big fan of. That's what I like to see teams and clubs do.
Absolutely. I think you hit the nail on the head when you said you want to challenge them. That's what it's all about. I think to grow as a person, as a player, as a team, like, you have to be challenged. You're not going to get better if you're just winning every game, like you say. And if you're winning it easily, I don't think that challenges you to become a better player. And I think you just end up plateauing. I think you just kind of get you settle with just being here. Whereas if you play better opponents, or tougher opponents, that you're going to keep growing. And like you say, that's an opportunity for us to actually coach then, and come up with training schedules and practices and drills to kind of help us keep growing as individuals and as a team as well. So it's all about challenging them and just enjoying the challenge, like you say, enjoying getting better and rising to a different level, for sure.
100%. And I love what you say about being consistent in terms of that, in terms of how you said that. But because enjoying it within that, in how you challenge and continuously focused on that, I think the enjoyment is an important part there, because sometimes there's also a learning point there for players, because they might get ahead of themselves too quickly. So therefore you might have a player who might challenge themselves, and then they might be dominating, winning games, and they're scoring, etc. And they might be one of the most technical players across the league, or the format that you have, for example, and therefore they might want to move on and try and step up another age group, or this might be at club level, for example, an older age group, or they're trying to get ahead of themselves. And I can think of a player who we had absolutely dominated our under eights that year, top goal scorer, assists, everything, just because we looked at it that way. And he went on and left to play for another club at an older age group, realised he couldn't hack it, and then had to come back down. And that was a great learning example for him of, right, progress and enjoy, challenge yourself, and try not to get ahead of yourself. That you're not going to make it as a professional footballer at the age of 12. So what have you gained by stepping up too quickly or trying to gain that? Enjoy enjoy the journey whilst you're on it. And then if at 13, 14s, when you're more competitive and you want to make that choice, then you're in a better position to do so. But I think for players not to get ahead of themselves and to realise and to enjoy that within the journey of challenging and pushing themselves is a really important point as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just enjoying the moment that you're at, like I say, not thinking too far ahead, focus on the practice that day, the training that day, and the game that's coming up, rather than thinking, oh, but conference starts in 3 games, what does it matter? We're on this game that's coming up. And yeah, I think just focusing on that training session that day, like what can you take out of it that day? And rather than thinking, oh, but Friday, we may have this, but it's yeah, just enjoying the moment, the day that you're on, the practice that you're on, the game that's coming up, and not thinking too far ahead, because you can't do anything about that game, but you can do something about the training session you're about to do this afternoon. So yeah, totally on board with what you said there.
I love that, and I appreciate that. And whilst you're delivering everything across the program, so also you have your playing principles and standards, you've got your values which you'd like to see, but in terms of that actual playing and what you'd like to see in terms of possession and how you'd like your players to work hard, what you expect from them on and off the pitch, and when it comes down to how they approach the game, how they come into the changing room, how a match day might work, how training is taking place, and what you expect from them. There's a lot of components which we as coaches want to control, have expectations over, where we'd like the team and the players to be. So therefore, there might be some slippage in terms of players maybe not coming in on match day how we expect them to, but training is ticking that box. Their attitude off the pitch is ticking that box, but we're not just getting that tick on match day, for example. So then when we have all these components which we want to control and get ticks across all the boxes, how do we try to ensure that all the ticks are across the boxes, and do we have to get a tick in every box to try and instill high standards from your point of view?
Yeah, Dan, that's a good question. Yeah, I think it's all about, I keep coming back to it, but I think it's all about how you are as a person and then as a player. Like when I was recruiting, I'm bringing certain players over because maybe they were very highly recommended from their coach because they're good off the field, on the field, they tick all the boxes as far as that. All the transfers that we got came in from winning programs, so they had the winning mentality. Maybe they were the top player on their team, or just their team in general was like a very top team. And so I think it's getting the right players as far as kind of their mentality, because if we want to be successful here, we need to get people who have seen success and know how to get success. And so like all the players that we have coming in, whether they're a freshman, they played high level, had success in their club and whatnot. So I think the first thing we were looking for was like that winning mentality, like they know how to win. And then, yeah, it's about getting them to apply it here, right? Just because they've done it before, like, can they still do it here? But I think then it showed the girls that they have a respect for all their teammates, because some of them played against each other, and they know that they were a tough opponent and that they were a good player, or they know kind of which school, like, oh gosh, yeah, they went to national tournament, like our goalkeeper, she was All-American, which is like the highest award you can get as an individual, so she's automatically got respect. So it's just with getting all these players having that mutual respect, they can all see as soon as we went out to practice that they're all good players, so they already get each other's respect. But then that also shows that, well, now you've got to work for a starting spot because everyone's good. It's not as if there's, a top and a bottom, everyone's very good. And so it's just trying to kind of push through, break through. And, we've got good enough players that, yeah, maybe if you're not quite there for match day, then, someone else is ready. But then also we've got the right people that is going to encourage everyone, that they're going to, because we've got all different levels as far as, freshmen all the way up to seniors. We've got a couple of seniors, so some of them have been through the whole college before. And I think it's important to dive into, like, why are they not maybe ticking that box? Is it something personal going on? Is it something they're overwhelmed with academics? Is it something happened with back home? Sometimes it's something other than just the soccer. Maybe it's not because they're unfit, it's because they were up all last night because something happened back home that's really personal and is affecting them. And I think then it comes back to, how are you as a coach? Are you approachable? Are you open? You know, do the players feel comfortable coming to talk to you? Because then if they open up and then now you realize like, oh, well, yeah, that would affect your game. You know, that's totally put you off your game. You know, maybe, you know, you can't go a full 90 today, or your head's just not in it, or, you know, so I think then it's just a whole circle, right? It's not just about the soccer. It's about just so much. It's how you recruit them as players, as person, how you are as a coach, and then how the team is as far as kind of holding each other accountable and encouraging each other, and the kind of bond that they have. And so there's so many factors that go into it of maybe why that box isn't ticked that day, because maybe the next week it is ticked, you know. And so yeah, I think just kind of breaking down, maybe it's that certain person, you know, maybe that whole week they were just kind of off with practice because they had 4 tests on a Monday, and they're still trying to, you know, they failed one of them, so now they're overwhelmed and worried and can't focus on soccer. And that's the thing about being college soccer, that it's so much more than just soccer. You know, it's having to get your classes and being on top of your classes so your grades are good, because if your grades slip you can become ineligible and then you can't play. And it's just a kind of circle with that. So you know, it's not just club where you can maybe just focus on the soccer. It's a little bit more. You know, and some of the girls are going to have jobs because they need to help pay for college. You know, so they're running from class to work to game, and so maybe their head's not right in it for that game that day. Or so yeah, like I keep saying, I can talk about all of that, but it's all about the different factors, and so much goes into it. And just kind of stepping back as a coach and figuring out maybe the why, and maybe how we can resolve it. You know, like one example how we can maybe resolve it is, you know, if one of them's really overwhelmed, like we had a girl yesterday, she's already got a pre-calc test coming up, you know, so she asked if she can miss the practice because there's a tutor at that same time. Then yeah, absolutely, you know, we want you to obviously get your classes. Your degree is the most important. You're a student athlete, student comes first. And so but you know, maybe that helped them feel a bit more kind of, oh, okay, I'm allowed off from practice, I can really work on this, so then tomorrow in practice now I can go 100% because I've taken care of that. You know, so yeah, I can talk, but yeah, I think there's just so many factors. And as a coach, how can you step back and help them resolve maybe that problem, and maybe we can get that tick in the box for the next game.
And I love that, because you're taking so much in consideration. So the external factors, it may have been a knock on, why you're not getting that tick in that box, how you can support players, how then they can approach you, how maybe just giving them a little bit of time away can come back and get 100% or that box ticked. And there's so much which really comes into importance and playing. Again, goes back to that point of being a person, because you could have gone, do you know what? No, training's got to be 100% and games, so the program's got to be 100% attendance. You find another time for your tutor, and therefore you fit that test in around that. Whereas actually, no, it's, do you know what, go to that tutor session and come back tomorrow. And just having that, the player's going to take so much away from that, even as any person, say in a job, or anyone that you could manage, for example. And even you as a head coach could, when asking for time off, say if you got something with a baby or just for your child, then you want those above you to go, yep, that's fine, you've got an assistant coach, they can take training. And just that goes a long way when you can just afford that little bit of time for any person when it's out there. You don't have to be particular on them being 100% everything, because you're asking of an impossible task of every person that's out there.
Absolutely. I mean, like you say, in order for them to get 100% in training, yeah, maybe we need to take something off, you know, the day before, so then we can get that 100% the next day. You know, and I think, like you say, we're all people first, you know, and we do get overwhelmed, and time management, you know, where we're just kind of talking about that earlier. And yeah, sometimes some things just seem so much at once. And yeah, how can we kind of reel one off, you know, take something off your shoulder so you feel a bit more relaxed, and then the next day now you can give the 100%. So yeah, it's just treating them as people, you know. And we're all going to be in the same boat. Maybe, you know, like I'll have that kind of situation come up, or you know, someone's always going to have that kind of situation where just maybe things are a bit too much that day. And yeah, how can we, as not just coaches, but how as we as people can help resolve that and make you better.
And brilliant again. And when it comes down to trying to build that team, which you've done, and have that recruitment, and you've got players coming in from winning teams and having that mentality and mindset, and it's going to really help your environment, your dynamics, your relationships, what you want to instill in your team, that winning mindset, that achievement, pushing towards wins, what you expect on and off the field. You know, whilst having a magnitude of those different attitudes and personalities, and having winning mindsets and coming off the back of those experiences, that's pressure within itself to manage those players, because sometimes they might have high expectations, they might want to push themselves, and when you sort of got that winning mentality and that mindset, they want to be part of maybe an elite squad, or in terms of how they think, so a squad of elite thinkers, and I'm not talking about football there, I'm on about thinking within itself, right? You know, because they want to be winners. And sometimes when you try to be a winner, you cut off maybe those people, those relationships, those moments, those memories, because you're so geared towards trying to win, train, game, footage, watching film back, one-to-one training, fitness. And there's a lot of components which comes into those maybe personalities and attitudes of those players. So managing and supporting those players is another management skill within itself, and another sort of branch of the tree. But when it comes to managing those and trying to build upon, going, do you know what, you've got life, just settle down and relax and have fun, like you say, that's another consideration to bring in and to manage those players. So are you sort of mindful of knowing that group sort of exists and how to manage it accordingly across the group, or is that something that you're just going to take in a stride and then see how it works across the course of the season?
Sure. I mean, yeah, I mean, it's tough. We've got like 22 players, and you know, they all have this winning mentality, this very good kind of want to win attitude. But you know, we try to install to them that, you know, we want to win. That is an expectation, but there is factors that go into winning. You know, and it's you know, as long as that practices, you're giving 100%, you're doing everything you need to off the field, taking care of your body, the recoveries. When we need to watch film, we're doing this, you know, as long as you're doing everything that we need to. And then when I give you the weekend off or a day off, like take that day off, you know, and enjoy that, and don't look at a soccer ball, you know, and just try and recharge. Like I try to give them a Sunday off always. I think it's so important just to have a day to kind of recharge, reset, so then come Monday we're all gearing to go and kind of ready to go. And so yeah, it's trying to balance, you know, is still trying to you know, this is the first time with this team, you know, my last team I was with, you know, we were a winning program, the past 2 years we had won conference or runners up, and so I've been in that environment before. I've been around obviously a kind of high level or a winning kind of team, and yeah, it's just about trying to manage when to go hard and when to kind of take the foot off the gas, you know, because I mean, it's hard. You can't go 100% all the time. You know, you need to kind of recharge that battery to go again. And so when I give them that day off, truly take it in, you know, whether you're napping all day or watching Netflix or going up to the pool, or, you know, I think it's so important for not just their body, but their mind as well. And for their mind to kind of shut off from that. So then the next day they're fully charged, they're ready to tackle it again at that high kind of level, that high expectation as well. So and I think all the girls, they're a really good group. Honestly, I'm really happy with it, with everyone we've got here, and I think they all have similar attitudes, similar values as far as what they want. You know, we're all on the same page. You know, we had lots of team meetings about all this kind of stuff, and you know, I just kept telling them know when to kind of joke around, have a laugh of it, and then know when to really get into it. Because in practices, you know, before we start, they're all chatting, and when we begin the warm up, we're fully focused, we're into it. You know, we get a drink during a drill, they're all chatting, laugh, blah, 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 getting into a drill, right into it, you know. And I think that just comes from how they are as players, that, you know, they want the best out of everything. So when we're practicing, and there's no mucking around, you know. It's getting right into it and holding not just yourself but your teammates accountable for that as well. So I don't feel like I've had any kind of problems as far as, you know, getting them to stop kind of messing around, or, you know, because that's just how they are as players. You know, they want that environment and they create that as well.
And I think, again, it relates then to that fun aspect. They can be themselves, they can enjoy it, they can know what type of environment that you're creating. They can hold each other accountable and take that within their stride. And also giving that time off, because we have sometimes too much expectation on players to be at every training, to be at every game. And then we want to put on extra training. Then we might want to have an extra friendly game. And putting so much upon that, on top of their studies as well, it's a certain position for us then to sort of work out how we can support them long term, of going, just breathe, and we're not going to burn you out before you even get to a scholarship stage, or before you get to 18, 19, 20 in life, or you don't want to be at a point where you're like, right, my time at the school is finished, I'm happy with soccer, I'm done with that because of how intense it was. So it's a nice position, because you not only have to set these players up to try and gain into those positions they want to be, but you set themselves up to try and have good lives and know when they can switch off as well, and try and bridge that mentality down a couple of pegs, just to go, yeah, you can still have that winning mindset in the way that you can think about it, but just consider living your life, just consider having fun, just try to get these things in. And I think that's an important point as well. But as you have a 22-person squad, that's probably one of the smallest squads that I've heard any of the coaches from America say that they have. And did you choose to have 22, or would you have liked to have had more, or is that sort of the nice number that you've sort of got toward that you wanted to have?
Sure. So ideally, we'd like to get to 25. Obviously, being a new program, and then I was just hired in like the start of January, the end of December, and so I didn't have as much of a window in order to recruit. But 25 is kind of a sweet spot, what we want to get to. We do have one, it would be 23, but she's ineligible to play. So, we're looking to be around the 25. The good thing about Xavier is we don't require, a huge squad. There's some teams that require, 40, and they have to have a JV squad and whatnot. Like, we're all about the quality over the quantity. Like every player that is in the squad is going to get minutes, is very valuable to us. And so it's just trying to get the right players, 25 like right players, and next year we should hit that 25. 22 was just, what we could kind of manage and what we felt we needed to get for this season. And I just want to, you had mentioned when you were explaining there about the burnout. Gosh, if I hear that word, wow. I was recruiting, and there's actually a lot of talent around here, and I spoke to a lot of recruits trying to get them in, and I'm not looking to play college soccer, and these are players that could come in and play for me kind of right away, like very good level. And I asked, is there a reason why? And I had probably a good 5 players say because they were burnt out. And that is sad to hear. These are girls who are, I don't even think I've hit 18 yet, and they're burnt out from the sport already. Like, how sad, that they just feel like they don't even want to continue on with it, and we're talking about, we want this winning mentality, we want, blah, blah, blah. It's all about having a life as well. And, did these girls just get too much of it that they couldn't continue on, because here at Xavier, we're very high academic as well. So, you're going to get a very good education here, and, what better to get like a great education, great soccer experience and put them together, and the fact that there were so many girls that didn't want to go on because they were so burnt out from the sport is it's disheartening. It really is. Like, it really makes me sad, because like I say, they're not even turned 18 yet, and they want to give up on it. Like at that environment, they may probably play pickup or whatnot, but you'll never be in that like kind of high quality environment of soccer. And so so sad to hear. And that's one thing, as coaches, I feel like we should never have the ability to kind of take the love away from a player. As coaches, we should only be showing you more of the game. We should only be increasing your love for the game, or finding a new love within the game, something that you've never kind of seen before or experienced before. So I feel as coaches, we should just never be able to take that love away from a player. Like, that is, and there's probably lots of factors and reasons of why they were all burnt out. But, as coaches, we just always have to try and show them that there is so much fun to play. And when they come to college, you know, they can be anywhere from like 18 to 22 or more. And that is such a fun age. You know, you're learning so much about yourself. That's when I feel you really become independent. All these girls are, you know, coming from across the world or across state and living on their own for the first time. And there's just so much at that age, you know, and we don't want them to get burnt out, you know, but we want to keep them high level and competitive and win and all this stuff, but we want them to find themselves as well, you know, because they are growing so much at that age. You know, we've been through that age, and you know, you think about it and you're like, it's such a special age. And that's why I love coaching college age players. I know I'm totally going off on a tangent now. We're talking about roster sizes, but you know, these 22 players that we've got, like, they're all special, and I can't wait to kind of watch and see them grow as the years that they're here, you know. And I think that's a big part of coaches. Like, we are in that stage of their life that we're going to be kind of a factor, you know, and it's up to you whether you're a positive impact or a negative impact in their life. But keeping them, you know, on track, keeping them for the love of soccer, you know, that they love to play, showing them that. So yeah, the 22 that we have are great girls, and you know, we're going to be striving for around that kind of 25 for next year and going forward.
Well, I really like that you went background to burnout and spoke about that group of girls and individuals as well, because it does play a factor. It does play in, because again, that could be something that you might be considering in the thoughts of your players that you're going to have now on your program. But when it comes down to it, as you say, for those players who could miss out and potentially play at college level and those higher quality, they might miss out on something that could have always been, and therefore they're not really answering that question, which might always sit with them for life, where they could look back in their 30s, 40s and go, oh, what could have been? What happened if I had just gone into the program, maybe just had a support network in the coach whereby I had a little bit lesser training or maybe less intensity, just built up over that year, and then year two hit it harder and got back into the swing of things. And there's so many players being missed out on because they're being squeezed so much at a younger age to get most out of them. And then by the time it actually matters, then they're like, do you know what, I don't want to do this no more, or I'm tired from it. And therefore they're not able to go down that pathway which they'd like to go. And I was going to say to you, why do you think that is? Because you sort of touched upon it. There are many different factors, of course. But you know, that again could create context whereby if you have an opportunity to look at, say, 10 high schools, however many are in that area geographically to you, is there a way of the college going out and having an education pathway to support these players or to work with clubs? And I think that's the way the game, you know, develops and moves on and creates partnerships and supports these players from prevents burnout. But for these selective players that we talk about, to try and ensure that balance and to ensure that they can follow their pathway and what's right for them, we have to understand the people first, what is going to work for them, and not putting too much on their plate. And it's great that you've got that academic focus as well, because you know, they've got to have that balance of when to switch off from soccer and have a couple of hours studying and then go off and, you know, maybe go out and have a dinner with the group of girls or whatever. It's just having that person first and understanding, let's not put too much on their plate and let's approach it in the right way where they're not going to get burnt out too quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and the burnout it can be for any age, you know, but to see it so young is sad, you know. And I don't know if it's out here in America, you've got a club going on at the same time as high school, and then you've got weights for this, and then you're also playing basketball season, so your body's not had a rest, and it's like a year-round thing, you know. And so there's lots of factors, and everyone's got different reasons of maybe why they get burnt out. But yeah, it's just trying to get them all to time management, you know, skills, and give 100% to whatever you're doing at that moment. You know, when you're out in the field, you're 100%, you're focused on soccer, you're not thinking about, oh, your test here, or you've got to go get groceries, or, you know, the same thing as adults as well. You know, whenever you're in the moment, like, be whole, be full, like, in that moment, so you can bring your best self. You know, when I'm out at a training session, I don't want to be thinking about, oh, I didn't put the steak out of the freezer for dinner tonight, and because then I'm not on my game, you know, I'm not giving 100%. And so wherever you are, give 100% in that moment, and then, you know, then you can shut off. And then now when I get home, it's all about family. You know, I'm 100% with my daughter, with my husband, you know, whatever it may be. And then, you know, the next day I've got a meeting, I'm 100% in this meeting. So I think to get the best out of everyone is is trying to time management and work on those skills and I mean, hopefully not get burnt out so early, and doing what we need to in order to prevent that.
Absolutely, and it's great that you have that approach and what you also talk about in terms of your own personal life and how that looks as well, and what might throw you off in terms of examples, and how that could play in terms of the thought process, and what may prevent you from being at your 100% because of that burnout that you get to. But when it comes to that roster size and sort of ping ponging this back and forth in a circular manner, it's a nice size, I think, and 22 to 25 is a very good point, because obviously you start 11, you might have 7 subs on the bench, for example, and then you've got another 7 players in reserve which you could rotate. Then you might get hit with injury, you might have then girls missing because of tutoring or other aspects going on. So I think 25 is a very nice number to have, and some of the coaches, obviously, as you say, have different programs and then different squad sizes, etc. But when they hit me with like 30, 32, I'm like, whoa, 11-a-side football. How do you sort of manage those players? How do you rotate? How do you look at that? And they say, oh, we got rolling subs, etc. And every coach obviously has their philosophy, their approach, their framework, etc. But it's just in the back of my mind, having 30, 32, that is such a huge squad size. So 25, I think, is an absolutely nice number. And again, when it comes in and you've got all these personalities which you manage on top of that, these players have chosen to play for your program. They've chosen to go down this pathway. They only have a certain amount of years which they can do so. They only have this time for a certain amount of time in life, because we can never go back and repeat it. So for me, there's such importance on trying to maximize their opportunity on this program whilst they're there, because they can never have that time back. So when I think of 32 and so on, I'm like, how can you give them that time, which is really important? So it's a very nice position which you're in, and I think having a squad of 25 really puts you in a prime position across the year without having too much on your plate, but then also having a nice size whereby, again, if those external factors come in, you can also have that balance of when you can bring players in and whatnot.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you always want to have the availability and the options to play 11-a-side, if we are imitating, the other team that we're trying to play that week or whatnot. So having enough numbers to play 11-a-side is I think should be within your roster size. And then obviously having just a couple more injuries are going to happen. This is just how it is. It's how the game is. We've got a couple of girls just now, just with a couple of knocks, like nothing serious, but, maybe give them a day or 2 off to do some recovery and rehab. And so, I think just with the schedule that they have in America, we play twice a week. Like it's crazy. And, their bodies are going to take a toll of, how much they can do. And so having those extra bodies, to get in for rotation and whatnot. And then obviously, like you said, the management of all these players, there's always going to be, a couple that may not be too happy with their minutes. They came from a team that they were starting or whatnot and a big player, but everyone was that, so we can't have 22, 25 players starting. And so, it's trying to manage minutes and keep everyone happy. And I think the further up the number goes, obviously there's going to be people that are just not happy. And if they've only got 4 years to try and play, if they're not happy, are they going to move on? Are they just going to give up? Are they, and so, I want my retention to be good. I want everyone to feel that they are valuable here. And so, the higher up the number goes, I think it's just harder to kind of manage. And so, I think 25 is good for us. And that's where we're going to look to be next year and kind of following seasons.
And when it comes into that team selection, then, do you have a criteria which you set yourself for that team selection? So, for example, being on top, you touched upon it, being on top of those academic studies. But when it comes down to it for yourself, right, is it you're on top of your academic studies? You've been to every training this week. Your fitness is high. Therefore, this is what makes you into team selection. Or do you sort of build upon team selection around your game program and looking at rotation and so on? Or is it completely different thinking entirely for your team selection and how you choose those players for that squad and so on?
I think a couple of factors come into it. I mean, it depends how they're practicing. If they're just off, just not getting it, or just struggling with intensity or the game speed or whatever it may be, then obviously they may not be in the starting squad. But like I say, all of our players are kind of up there, so it makes it tough. It's a good job to have. It's we want that as coaches. But yeah, I think sometimes it just comes down to the training, kind of what you've been showing us in training, because we try to create this game-like environment in training. You know, all of our drills are game-like. Everything is so game-like. So if you're doing it in practice, then you should be able to do it in games. So if maybe they're struggling or just a bit behind, you know, if one midfielder's a bit behind another midfielder, then, you know, that just kind of shows who's ready for that game. And sometimes it just kind of changes from week to week. You know, if, like I say, if someone's got stuff on and then they're just not practicing well, and then, you know, maybe the other midfielder or whatnot gets in front of them. But yeah, I think practices is huge. That's pretty much, I'd say, we're number one, where we kind of agree on, you know, who will start or not. And then sometimes it depends on the opponents. You know, if they play a certain way, if we need to adjust, if we know they've got a fast winger, we need to put our faster outside back there, or, you know, sometimes who we're playing is a huge factor as well. And so it comes game by game. You know, we're never just going to start just because, you know, we started with them last week. Me and my assistant will sit down and we'll talk about each game that's coming up, and what's going to be the best for that game that day, because the next game it might be different. And obviously we want to try and keep some sort of consistency. You know, we don't want a whole starting 11 every game, so we want to keep that kind of chemistry going. But yeah, there's ever little tweaks, and that's another thing. We don't want any of the girls to get complacent. You know, we don't want any girl to be like, oh yeah, I'm probably starting. You know, we want everyone to feel like they've got to earn that starting squad and that starting spot. So creating that competitive environment in practices, and then, you know, in game times, if maybe you're not delivering, or, you know, someone on the bench has maybe a bit more energy and ready to go, you know, then they come on and do their thing. But yeah, I think it's all about creating an environment that is competitive, that no one gets complacent, and yeah, just kind of seeing who's best and who's ready for that game.
I love that, and I think it's a great insight in terms of how you select those players, expectations from them, and how they can work as well. And when it actually comes down to saying selecting the team itself, that 11, do you build upon midfielders? Do you start out from the goalkeeper? Do you start out from the striker? How does the actual technical side of selecting the team come into play?
Yeah, I think position by position. You know, we stay true with our formation for now. And so we just kind of start from the back going forward. Like we've got two keepers right now, and they're both very good. One's a junior, one's a freshman, so that's probably the only difference. Just one has a bit more experience with the college seasons out here. And you know, my assistant, he's actually the goalkeeper coach, so he'll get a lot of say, you know, through the season of maybe who's practicing better. And that's another thing. We play twice a week, but it's a Thursday, Saturday, so we only really get this one day of rest. So maybe on the Thursday, you know, if one of our starters gets maybe a bump, or, you know, just had a lot of work to do and just feeling a bit kind of stiff for the Saturday, then maybe they may not start on the Saturday, and we kind of rotate it to keep everyone healthy and try and keep the quality as high as possible out there. Like, that's the biggest thing, is just trying to keep the quality high out there. Because I feel like our subs, they can come in and keep that level up there. So it's just whoever is ready, able, mentally, physically, emotionally, you know, ready to go out there and keep the level high and play the Zula way, and, you know, play how we want to, then they're gonna play. But yeah, I think I don't know, I guess I'd never even thought about that. I think I go from this position going forward. So start out with a keeper, and back line, the mids, and the forwards.
It's just interesting to see how different people pick their teams. So typically I try to build off my midfielders and then go around that. And it's just how can I learn off everyone else who comes on and how they pick their teams, why they pick them in consideration. But, you know, some people start naturally and go from the goalkeeper down. Some people go from attacking up. So, you know, everyone's different in their approach, and that's what makes coaching and management exactly what it is. Because, you know, come down to the day of it, if I pick my team different to yours and then I set my team up differently, and, you know, we're head to head, then that's where the actual management and the head coach and competitive nature comes from, and that's why you got to love the game for what it is.
That's it. Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
For sure. And, when it comes down to obviously coaching and management and then life itself, what guides you in the way that you live your life? Do you try to live it in a nature whereby you try to take everything on board, enjoy it, live it day by day? Are you very competitive and got a point where you want to get to in life and set that out? Is it, making sure you got harmony and enjoying the job that you have? So when you choose to retire or move away, you can look back and go, yeah, I was happy with that, got no regrets, and that's where I'm at. What guides you in the way that you live your life and how you take that into coaching?
Oh, I truly just try to enjoy kind of where I'm at. I think as people, we naturally just maybe have goals set out for ourselves as far as, maybe where we'd like to see each other, where we'd like to see ourselves down the line. But I think it's hard to kind of look too far ahead and then be so present of where you are. I don't think it would be fair if, I came here, I just got here, it's my first season, and I'm thinking, in a couple of years, maybe I'll be somewhere else. I don't think that's fair to myself, to my team, to kind of where I'm at. And so I think it's just so crucial to be kind of present of where you're at right now, and I think that's how I try to live my life. I try to be present with my team right now in the practices. When I'm home, I try to be fully present with, my family, with my husband, with my daughter. And I think, because it can be so overwhelming, when you're thinking too far ahead, and we come back to the whole time management things of, I'm very much a list kind of person. I've constantly got lists in my phone notes. It's crazy of, to-do lists and what I need to do today, what I need to do this week, what I need to do this month, or and just slowly trying to kind of tick off and prioritizing what needs to be done now, and trying not to get too overwhelmed. But yeah, I think just trying to stay fully present is huge, and is how I try to live my life. And maybe when big things have kind of, so like after a season, maybe then we can kind of reevaluate everything and kind of going forward, what I want to change, what I need to work on going into the next season or the next semester. But yeah, it's hard, especially being in kind of a coaching life. I think things are just go, 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 go. And it is really easy to get kind of wrapped up in that. And that's what's important to me, is to try not let it take over your life. That's what I try to tell the girls, it's healthy to recharge and get something that's other than just soccer, and it's funny because how I relax, me and my husband may watch the Premier League on a Saturday morning, and it's still football, but it's different. It's just kind of watching for kind of the enjoyment of it. Or I like to go to the gym, I like to read, I like to go for a walk, or whatever it may be, and just to have something other than what you need to do. Like, I need to do my job, I love my job, but having something that isn't kind of, you need to do this, just I do it out of pure enjoyment as well. I think that's healthy. And I think if you kind of live that lifestyle of just being in the present, just enjoying where you're at in the moment, and it's natural, and it's good to have those long-term goals of maybe where you want to end up, but you probably can't end up there if you're not giving your 100% where you're at right now. So
I love that, and I think that's such a great quote within itself, and that is going to be a fantastic one for sure. And being present in that moment and not trying to get too ahead of yourself, and taking it day by day and enjoying it, as a very common theme has presented itself right throughout the episode and talking to you. I think it's such an important message to be relayed, and have it from the start to the finish just by a natural conversation. It just shows the absolute importance with them. When it comes into that, and you're still learning, you're still on your way as a coach, etc., as you said, what has been the biggest lesson that you've learned within the coaching world so far then?
That is a tough question. I mean, I think we learn all the time, right? It's just constant learning. One quote that I love, that I try to live by, is comparison is the thief of joy. I think it's really easy to compare ourselves to people, to other programs, to other coaches. And I think if you just compare, that you're just going to really lose out on kind of the joy of like who you are, like I said, you're present, like where you are in that moment. And so, I try to tell the girls as well, and when I'm recruiting, and like never compare your journey with anyone else's. Like yours is yours for a reason, like everyone is unique in their journey and their story. Like I don't think I've got a story like anyone else, but that's my story. And I think it's so important to not compare. It's so easy, I think, with social media these days. It's so easy to compare. Well, they're doing this, and should we do this? And it's trying to kind of beat each other out on kind of social media and get the better picture and do this. And it's, man, just enjoy where you're at. Stop comparing. It's going to take away your joy of kind of where you're at right now, of your story, of your journey. So I'm really big on coming back to that quote every time, maybe if I feel myself getting a bit overwhelmed or just kind of getting caught up in everything. Like, comparison is a thief of joy. Like, don't let it take away from you. Don't compare. And just enjoy your own journey, and just take pride in your own journey as well.
Another top quote, and another one that I've noted down, and I think it's going to be a great one for sure. And before we move into the quick fire questions, because I am cautious of the time and how long I'm keeping you for, and I can hear your baby in the background as well.
Sorry.
No, that's fine. I think that's a good thing. She sounds happy. She sounds good, and that's the important thing, which is good. And I just want to consider the fact that she's not getting mum time, which is an important factor for me as well. So, if you had to have one, if you had to give a lesson to a player that hopefully sticks with them for life, that you can see beyond when they're no longer with you and taking their stride within life, what lesson would you like to give them that they can always abide by or have with them?
Sure. Like I always tell them, like, work hard for what you want, and all the girls who have graduated that I've been through, my last college with me, I still keep in touch with them all, and a lot of them come back and, I'm like, coach, I worked really hard and I finally got this job I wanted, or, thank you for, they always try to tell me thank you. And I just tell them, like, look, I'm just here to kind of push you and show you, what you can do. But I think it's important that we kind of just install them, like, work hard for what you want. Like, nothing's just going to be given to you. And I try to say that honestly every year that I'm coaching, that usually comes out in one of the speeches. But it's all about just work hard for what you want. If you want something and you work hard for it, you will get it. But nothing will ever be handed to you.
Love that, and another top quote indeed. So now we move into the quick fire questions, and a nice place to get to. If you had to have someone describe you in 3 words, what 3 words would they be?
Oh, I hate talking about myself this way. Oh gosh, I think determined, loyal, and maybe trustworthy.
Absolutely. Top 3 words for sure to describe a top coach and a top person. And whilst you're in America and you've made the choice to come out there, your husband's Brazilian, you're Scottish by trade. If you could move to any country, where would it be if it wasn't the US?
I'm not sure. That's a hard one. Oh gosh, you know what? I'd be willing to give Australia a try.
Love that. And something that I ask every British coach who goes out to America: would you go back home to coach, or would you go back home? And is that on your sort of plans at any point?
Sure, that's hard. I think it changes once you have a family. But there's just so much opportunity out here for coaches that it's hard to kind of get that back home. So for now, our plans are to stay out here just because we've got such a great opportunity and a great setup. Don't get me wrong, I love going home. I love going home and eating all the steak pie and haggis and getting all the foods. But for now, I think we would stay out here. But if any opportunity was to open up, obviously we'd consider it.
Love that. And, I think every British coach who moves out, always, when I ask that question, the answer typically is no.
Yeah.
So if you could spend a day with any coach or manager, who would it be?
Okay, maybe I'd have 2 at the dinner table. Maybe I'd have Alex Ferguson and Pep.
Two top choices. I think that would be a fantastic conversation of man management, standards, expectations, longevity, and then flipping that to modern day tactical approaches and success. So what a conversation that would be.
Yeah, that would go on all night, I'm sure.
Definitely. And this might be the same answer, it might be different, but who was or is your role model?
Oh, I really, really enjoyed Steven Gerrard. I think he just has the passion that is just so fun to see. And I love seeing how he's now taken into the coaching kind of role, and excited to kind of watch his journey as he grows as a coach. But I just looked up to him. I was a centre mid as well, so I think positions sometimes come into it, but just his passion, his loyalty. He stayed to Liverpool for so long when he probably could have moved so many times. And so, yeah, I think there's just a couple of values that he has that I admire. And I think he was just such an inspiring player and captain. And now just to see him as a coach, it's just fun. I'm excited to kind of watch his journey. So yeah, he was probably a big role model for me.
I love that. If you could go back to a younger self and you've got all the knowledge which you possess now, but I present you two cards. Card A being the one to be a professional soccer player and have that career, or card B is to be a coach and go wherever you want, no matter what level, to go up to the professional game, to come back down, but to not have had a professional playing career. Which card would you choose, card A or card B?
So I always wanted to play high level. Playing the game, there's just nothing more fun, honestly. Playing is just top tier level of happiness for me. And sometimes it just gets to the point you got to hang up the boots and get into the coaching career. So I'd probably choose card A and play the highest level I could be, because I think the more knowledge, the more you're in the game, the more you can kind of pass on. So as long as I choose card A and can go into coaching afterwards, and choose it.
I love that. Who knows? It could have worked out to be both ways, but you're doing such a fantastic job as a coach now. I hope that you go a long way with it as well, for sure. What is your number one top tip for any coach?
Top tip?
Yep.
Oh gosh. Soak in all the knowledge. Soak it in from every coach, players. Just soak in as much as you can to become the best coach that you can be.
Love that. What a top tip that is. What is one job that you could take out there if you had the choice of any job which would be presented to you in terms of coaching?
A job that I would take away?
Any job. So, one that you might go, do you know what? Scottish women's national team have come knocking. Liverpool have come knocking. Chelsea women's.
Got it. I don't know. I don't think there's anything better than representing your own country. Kind of your that is just pride right there. So gosh, if the national team came knocking, that's just something that would be so hard to say no to, right? Just representing your country on a national stage, that's huge.
Love that. If you weren't coaching, what would you be doing?
I've always been interested in kind of the psychology part of sports, and I think now that's becoming a big thing. And so I wish I'd got a minor in psychology, because I think there's such a need for it now. So I think if I wasn't coaching, I'd still be involved in sport, but maybe kind of on the psychology part of things.
Brilliant. Excellent. What is your biggest pet peeve as a coach?
Just pick one. I'd say probably when I see players just not working hard. As coaches, we can teach you how to trap a ball, how to cross a ball, all the technique, but we just can't teach you hard work that comes from within. So when I don't see that, that's hard to see, because you either have that or you don't.
For sure. What is your most favorite thing to do in your downtime?
Honestly, just spend time with family, whether it's, playing with my daughter or watching a new TV show with my husband, just relaxing. I think that just helps me recharge and just kind of feel the best, just kind of get the best out of me, just being with them.
Excellent. What are your 3 non-negotiables?
Oh, I have to be respectful. Leaving things better than you found it. I think that's huge. I think that says so much about you. And oh gosh, probably work ethic.
Love that.
That just has to be as high as it can be.
Love that for sure. What does reflection mean to you?
Reflection. I'd say, oh gosh, I think how you learn from people and how you kind of showcase that. I think if I'm coaching someone and, they're kind of acting up, their attitude is poor, that kind of thing, maybe that's a reflection on me, and maybe I need to go back and kind of look at what I'm doing wrong, especially if there's multiple people kind of acting out that way. So I think your reflection is always, I think coaches are a huge reflection, their players. Yeah, that's a tough question. But I think maybe how you are coaching or how you're kind of coming across is reflecting on your players.
Love that, and I think that's brilliant in itself. And the final one, which wraps up such a fantastic episode and time talking to you, what is one thing you enjoy most about coaching?
I just love the game. I just love it. It's been my life for so long, and just to get the opportunity to pass on what I've learned to someone else is the thing that I love most. And just seeing, I think the thing I love the most is watching my players grow, not just as players but as people as well. Just watching them, if I get them here for 4 years, or my last go was 2 years, just seeing the growth and how they become a better, mature lady, and a better, mature player. Like there's nothing better. And knowing that you had maybe a small part in that, and just watching them grow because of maybe what I've learned, I'm passing on. I think there's nothing better than kind of seeing the end product, if you will.
And what a fantastic way to finish such a great time spent with you. And I really appreciate you coming on the podcast and sharing your experiences. And honestly, it's been so heartwarming to have such a great conversation with someone who is so great. And I wish your program the best of luck for this year. And I can't wait to follow him on the socials, as I've been checking out and doing a bit of background research on. And I hope it really does go well this year. But best of luck to you. And I hope that your family goes well as well. Again, appreciate your time coming on.
Thank you so much, Luca. Yeah, great episode. But love just chatting away. I can chat away for hours about soccer and just kind of coaching and life in general. So yeah, appreciate the time, and thank you for all the well wishes. Appreciate it.
No problems at all, and likewise as well. So take care, and I'll speak to you soon.
Okay, thank you, Luca. See ya.
Yeah, see you.
It's tough, I'm not gonna lie. A first-time mum, to she's about to be 4 months next week, and we don't have any family out here. We're both from different parts, from Scotland, he's from Brazil, so we don't have any family here. So yeah, it's tough trying to manage, and but it's all about time management, and we try to tell our teams the same thing. Being a student athlete, that's like a full-time job in itself, and trying to give your time to your studies, give your time to recovery, to games, to gym workouts. There's just so much that goes into it.